January 1st, 2025. For most, the new year begins with fireworks or resolutions. However, for YouTuber Happy Hippy, it marked day 435 of living off the grid in nature. That night, he chose to hike alone into the Scottish wilderness and spend it in an isolated bothy near Loch Dee.
135 of me living out in nature, and it's the new year, so I thought I'd do a nice long video instead of the little short minute ones I've been doing recently. Today I'm going to go find a bothy around this area somewhere. It'll be the third time I've stayed in a bothy.
The journey was peaceful. He filmed the hike, admired the landscape, and noted that the bothy, an old stone shelter, had no other occupants. Third time's the charm, he joked. He even brought firewood, knowing the damp air might make it hard to start a fire. As night fell, the vibe shifted.
Let me zoom in. It's got the nice Scottish flag on it. Let's go see what it looks like. I've had people say I'm brave and ballsy for living this lifestyle, but there's nothing brave about it when it's doing something you love, so I don't agree with that.
Happy Hippy cooked dinner, warmed himself by the flames, and began to relax. But then, knocking. Clear, deliberate knocks at the door.
Of course, I will top it off with a little mustard.
He assumed it was the family he had seen earlier, but when he opened the door, no one was there. More knocks followed. Then came footsteps inside the bothy, but each time he entered the adjoining room, it was empty. There were no creaks from a shifting structure or wind-blown branches. These sounded like actual footfalls. Someone or something was walking right behind the wall.
Little bags as well, so you can attach the straw to that, but I've not got to you. Maybe this is the guests. There was no one there. I don't know if that's just people fucking with me or something. I don't know if that's something they do. But I don't think it would be that family. If it was just a dad and his daughter and son. Oh well, we'll see. It was just knocking on the door again, and then I'll wait.
He tried to drown the fear in music. Hours passed. Still the wood creaked. Shadows moved. The fire crackled louder than usual.
And it just stops. Maybe I just put my music on really loud and forget about it. Yeah, cameraman never dies, right?
By morning, he hadn't seen a single soul, but he knew he hadn't been alone.
I'm not really a believer in ghosts myself. It was a bit creepy, but I'm more of an alien guy. But if you are into ghosts and all that paranormal stuff, these are not the videos for you, because this is not what I do.
Despite his calm demeanor, viewers picked up on the unease. One commenter said, "I believe this man did truly have a ghostly encounter," and judging by how quickly he locked that bothy door, many would agree. May 2025. For Chico and his wife, van life had become second nature. They'd spent months living on the road, exploring forests, deserts, and everything in between. That week, they found what seemed like the perfect clearing. A peaceful patch of woods, no one in sight.
It's happened to us. Boondocking in the forest. And I've told people that we've heard people screaming.
But solitude never lasts. After a quick supply run into town, they returned to find a new camper parked about 40 yards behind them. The man had a clean setup and seemed harmless. Chico thought nothing of it. But as the sun dipped, the man stood motionless, just watching them.
40 yards away. This guy had a nice rig and a nice setup, so I wasn't too concerned about.
They tried to brush it off. Maybe he's just curious, Chico said. But deep down, something felt off. When the weekend crowd began to pour in, the couple decided to move to a quieter spot, only to run into the same man again. This time, he was shirtless, pacing in bikini bottoms, eyes locked on them.
We had to move. So we moved to this spot we're at now, and it ran us right into the guy that was stalking us in his bikini bottoms. So one demon chased us right into another demon.
They moved again. The next morning, as they sat outside sipping coffee, a rage-filled voice exploded through the trees. The same man, screaming, cursing, unprovoked, violent. Chico and his wife froze, unsure if he was armed. The yelling continued, incomprehensible at times, but unmistakably dangerous.
We were having our coffee this morning, and that new neighbor that pulled up did this.
What did you say?
They didn't wait. They packed in silence and drove away. That day forced them to reconsider everything. It wasn't bears or bad weather that made them question their lifestyle. It was a man, a stranger. Comments. You did the right thing by leaving. That man sounded like he had demons. Sometimes the scariest thing lurking in the woods isn't hiding in the shadows. It's staring at you from 40 yards away. May 2025, Luke, an experienced outdoorsman and the face behind a popular camping channel, thought this trip would be like any other. Just a solo hike, a peaceful fire, and a warm cup of coffee under a rain-speckled tarp. But this time, something was different.
We have a wind that is coming up from the south, basically going towards the north here. So I've done a shelf setup with the backside closer to the ground so it can block more air. I don't want to block all of the air, just 80% of it. Later on tonight, I'm gonna have a fire.
That night, the woods weren't quiet. Heavy steps cracked through the darkness, each one snapping branches like dry twigs. Luke scanned the tree line with his flashlight, expecting to spot a deer or maybe even a bear, but nothing. Just the sound of the forest rearranging itself.
I could have swore I heard.
Then came the crash. Around 3 a.m., a deep, thunderous crack jolted him from sleep. No wind, no storm, just rain. And yet something massive had fallen nearby. Maybe it was a tree. He whispered to his camera, still half in a dream, but I didn't hear any wind. Nothing to knock it over.
It was loud. A crashing sound maybe, a tree coming down, I'm not sure. I was dreaming pretty heavy and just kind of was startled awake. Something over here. I'm not sure. But, I don't hear anything now. But at the same...
The next morning brought clarity and confusion. As Luke packed up camp, he found it. A huge tree lying directly across his return path. A tree that wasn't there the day before. Its roots weren't torn from the ground. It hadn't fallen naturally. It had been moved.
This was not here yesterday. I'm so confused, everybody. This is a large tree.
But by what? No drag marks, no breakpoint nearby, no explanation. Something strange out there, one viewer commented. I've been camping 50 years. I always build the fire up big before I sleep. Luke didn't see any creatures, didn't capture a shadowy figure, but something heavy walked past his tent that night, and something strong left him a message, using a tree as punctuation. Whether it was Bigfoot, pranksters, or something worse, one thing was certain. Luke wasn't as alone in the woods as he thought. May 2025. Vlad, a survivalist known for testing his limits in the harshest environments, embarked on what he thought would be just another challenge. But deep in a forgotten trail, he came across something unexpected. An abandoned van, stripped, weathered, and left to rot in the middle of nowhere. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. Instead of passing it by, Vlad made a bold decision: spend the night inside. He cleared the brush, made a small fire outside, and tried to make the space his own. But as the sun dipped below the trees, something shifted. The calm of the forest vanished, replaced by guttural cries echoing from all directions. It wasn't just one animal. It sounded like several. Then came the circling, snaps of twigs, heavy footsteps, growls just beyond the firelight. He stayed low in the van, heart pounding, clutching his camera like a lifeline. Hours passed. The forest fell silent again, but that silence only deepened the unease. The next morning, searching for firewood, Vlad stumbled upon a grim sight: a massive bone, clean and bleached, lying in plain view. Too large to be from common game. There were no signs of a kill, no animal tracks, no drag marks, just the bone. He stayed the rest of the day, but the atmosphere had changed. The wild had sent a message, and Vlad was listening. Vlad made it out, physically unharmed, yes, but mentally. That van, those howls, and that bone followed him long after he left. Sometimes the forest whispers warnings, other times it screams them. June 1st, 2024, Joe and Elliot from the YouTube channel Ghost Theory set out to explore a forgotten mental asylum buried deep in the UK countryside. Known for their daring paranormal investigations, they had planned to camp overnight on the rooftop and document any ghostly presence.
If you're going to pop it up and then it just flies off the edge, you're going to go and get it.
Fuck you. Yes!
What? Oh,
Finally,
no.
I can do bashing in your head in the middle of the night.
Oh, you do know that's counted as tooled up going in a building.
Yes. We've now brought a hammer with us.
Yeah.
But it wasn't spirits that haunted them that night. The asylum, crumbling and abandoned for over 3 decades, was a place of tragedy. Locals spoke of shadowy figures and whispered voices. That alone was enough to keep most people away, but Joe and Elliot weren't most people. With gear in hand and curiosity high, they weaved through decaying corridors and found their rooftop perch.
Is anybody here that can hear us?
There's a certain part of the building that we haven't seen. It's up there somewhere.
I'm wondering if is it up this way?
Could be. I tried to go through here earlier, but I couldn't fit through the door. That way, I heard like a...
Did you hear it right through that corridor by any chance?
And I look behind me and I see that bloody thing.
The air was still, too still. Moments after settling in, noises began echoing from inside. Shuffling, footsteps, and voices. They weren't ghostly, they were human. Joe and Elliot slipped into night vision mode and moved silently. Then they saw them, figures in full army gear carrying rifles.
Fucking tools and everything. Why are they making noise?
Armed, organized, and very much aware of their surroundings.
Is that a voice? Is that a fucking angle grinder?
The team froze. Every survival instinct screamed, "Get out," but the exits were blocked. They whispered, planned, moved carefully through the dark until a final loud clang from the other end of the building gave them their window. They ran.
People turn up with guns. Whatever guns, whether they're airsoft, air rifles, whatever, I have no idea. And then whack out with some fucking angle grinders.
But the thing is,
he heard his name, whatever, so whatever, have you got the ladder? So they brought fucking ladders in and everything.
Through shattered halls, out the broken gate, and into the forest. One viewer summed it up best. "Trust your gut feeling, lads. You did well. Safety over everything." They never went back.
Look at the guy sat down. When I zoom back out, you can see two people over on the left, and it looks like they maybe point me out in the window, and the guy sat down, looks at me, and then they all sort of seem to disappear after that point. So I think maybe that's what caused them to leave.
Who were those men? What were they doing there with military-grade rifles and angle grinders in a place no one visits? Ghosts might terrify you, but it's the living that'll chase you into the woods. July 2023. A London-based family set out to do the impossible, drive around the world in a Grenadier vehicle with a Patriot camper trailer in tow. Their journey took them across Europe, through the Arctic, deep into Asia. But it was in Kyrgyzstan, just an hour from Kelso Lake, where their dream nearly went up in flames. Literally.
A gorgeous day turned into a devastating disaster within seconds. You're probably wondering how it all happened. But let's start from the beginning. We're a family of 4, and in July of 2023, we set off from...
They stopped beside a riverbed for lunch, surrounded by silence and snow-capped peaks. It was supposed to be a peaceful break before crossing into the Chinese borderlands. Then, without warning, fuel began pouring down from the top of their trailer.
It made sense to continue 1 hour to a yurt camp near the lake and make a plan from there.
If you haven't been in a yurt before, this is it. Nice high ceiling. Each of them have different patterns.
At first, they thought it was water, but the smell hit fast. Petrol. Before anyone could move, the fumes ignited. The entire trailer caught fire in seconds.
3 or 4 months. But yeah, the fact that this exploded and the fact, like Leah said, that the fuel was gushing down, it's obviously a breach of a seal somewhere and caught fire. So I don't think we're going to be using these again.
And literally, as soon as I smelled that, the whole kitchen just went whoosh. The cooker wasn't even like right next to where it was coming down. So it all just happened so fast, I didn't even have a chance.
The children were rushed to safety. The father tried to climb onto the trailer to remove the ruptured fuel bag, but the flames were too fast. Within minutes, the structure, the supplies, everything was burning. They detached the car just in time. The trailer was gone.
Matt kind of stepped in, and I was just trying to get the kids away because we didn't know, if something could explode or, and initially, I guess you were just trying to save the trailer.
Local travelers and farmers raced to help with buckets and extinguishers. Thanks to them, the blaze was finally put out. But the trip was forever changed. Still, they didn't turn back. They reached Kelso Lake that same day, mentally shaken but alive. One viewer commented how glad they were the family was okay, and praised the Australian company Patriot for stepping in to help. Despite losing nearly all their gear, the family dragged the burnt shell of their trailer into Mongolia to complete repairs. Their story became less about the journey and more about resilience. Because sometimes it's not the forest or the folklore that tests you. It's the fire you never see coming.